let's start. So welcome everyone to episode 51 of Indexer Office Hours. Today is 8th of March 2022. Today's agenda has been posted into the Office Hours chat in Discord, so you can find it there. And if we have anyone who is new to Indexer Office Hours, we love participations. So if you can do so by voice, by requesting to join the chat, or by text, or by asking questions in the stage chat in Discord, please do that. We have a lighter agenda than other days, but we have some exciting things to show you, including a short demo. So let's start by first jumping into opening remarks. So our newest episode of GRTIQ has been from our very own Adam Fuller from Edge and Node. I don't know if I can see Adam here. Oh yeah, I can see him. Congratulations, Adam, on a great episode. I really enjoyed how you were talking about how you became a graph fanboy. It was interesting to hear about your experience working for Google, as well as your experience working for the release of USDC. So if you haven't listened to that episode, please go ahead and listen to it. Okay, let's jump into our regular segment, Repo Watch. For major clients, if we look at Geth, there haven't been any new releases. The last release was Osun version 1.10.16. Then on Aragon, again, no new releases. Last release was the one from last week, 2022-02-04. On Open Ethereum, same, no new releases. Last one, Open Ethereum version 3.3.4. And finally, on Streaming Geth, no new releases. Last release was Geth version 1.10.16 DM. On the Graph Stack, on a Graph node, we have had a new pre-release, version 0.25.2. This has a bug fix that when restarting Graph node, it could make other subgraphs that fail for this deterministic errors to incorrectly skip a block and continue indexing. So we have a fix for that, and we also have automatic retries for non-deterministic errors, which will make it so that the graph node restart is no longer needed on this type of errors. For this release, thank you, Ottavio and Leo and everyone else who contributed. As always, please join us in testing the release on the testnet. And let us know if you've had any errors or any issues with it. And Ottavio, do you have anything to add on this? I know we're going to talk about it more at ongoing points of interest.
Just that I think I don't know if that's what we're going to talk later, but the issue that Alexis reported a while ago, that's the fix for it. And also that the debug forking tool was very useful to debug this. So thanks, Victor from LimeChain, who I think is not here. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, let us know if you have any questions about this release, and please test it. Some pull requests from last week, we have pull request 3299 that was merged. And that was support for adding IPFS URL via the IPFS flag for Graphman Run. We've also merged pull request 3290, which reduces the number of queries to update subgraph deployment. And we have a new PR that was submitted by Mayur. So thank you for submitting that. So he submitted the issues and the PR, so double thank you. This is about a subgraph that gets terminated when graph node fails to decode the call data with function ABI. So what happens is that the function 𝗨𝗶_decode input gives the transaction that we aren't able to parse using the 𝗨𝗨. The fix is that to skip the transaction, log the warning, and continue instead of completely failing the subgraph. And I've also linked the issue associated with this pull request, so issues 3314. On indexer service and agent, we haven't had any updates. The last release was the one from last week, version 0.19.0 pre-release. And I know that Ford will show us a bit of that release later on today. Last week, we have had Jace from Parallelia and Thinking Machine as a fire chat conversation in which they have asked for feedback on what indexers would expect from a query analytics data dashboard. So just a reminder, please, if you haven't already, fill in the form to help Parallelia and Jace. And then Adam has a reminder for us regarding Postgres local. So I'm going to pass on to Adam.
Yeah, thanks. I think, this is just the straw poll, which I think we mentioned last week in the session and then also posted on Discord, just to share the sort of the Postgres database locale that you guys currently have configured for indexes. This relates to, essentially just some things around how indexes are generated, which does have a potential impact on sort of like query determinism. So we just want to get an understanding of what is currently configured in indexes databases, just to inform some work and just think about how we want to roll out some new features focused on sort of query versioning in particular. So I think I'll post the link again in the channel. And yeah, I think at the moment it's looking like a lot of sort of US UTF-8, but it'd be just good to get a sense of if there is any or much variation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Adam. Before I'm handing over to Juan for Protocol Watch, does anyone have any questions or comments regarding Repo Watch? And has anyone had a chance to try version 0.25.2? Okay, I will take that as a no. Handing over to you, Juan, for Protocol Watch.
Thanks, Anna. So Protocol Watch is going to be quite short this week, but it does have some interesting things going on. Going into the contracts, there's a pull request for a GIP that I will be mentioning after this pull request. I should probably reorder this section so that it makes more sense. But anyways, pull request 548 on the contracts repo is for support for query versioning for dispute resolution. We'll be covering that on GIP 24 Inform Governance, which is the next thing. Core network subgraphs, of course, no new updates since last IOH. Going into form governance, as I mentioned before, GIP 24 query versioning. It's like trying to sum it up here. It's a long post from Zach, so if anyone wants to actually go read everything, it's super interesting. But to sum it up, it allows to use, or it tries to allow to use semantic versioning so that you can basically decide which is the query behavior that you want by basically determining which version of the queries you want to get served. In this way, it allows for some dispute resolution for that specific query version, which enables for like I guess more like fine resolution of which version do you want and what's the data that you're expecting, so it's easier for dispute resolution, I guess. Adam?
Yeah, I was going to say that's sort of the arbitration like angle to it. I think the more sort of positive, exciting side of the GIP is that this essentially allows or gives us flexibility to add more functionality to sort of the auto-generated subgraph API, which is obviously a lot of the focus of the guild. So by having versioning, we can start to introduce new features which which give sort of subgraph developers more things they can do with subgraphs, and it allows us to do that in a way that sort of keeps the determinism for queries going forward. So yeah,
Yep.
It's pretty important.
Yeah, and lots of flexibility too. You cannot decide when to upgrade to new query versions. You can also, indexers can also decide if they want to support backwards compatibility on all versions. There are many ways that this GIP covers that part of the infrastructure, I guess, details. So yeah, it's a very very thorough GIP. I'd recommend everyone to go take a read at this. But yeah, that's the long story short version, hopefully. Going into forum research, there's a small post that tries to let us know that the graph logs are not being reactive enough. You need to refresh the page so that the subgraph logs are showing. I'm not entirely sure if this is a bug or something, but yeah, it's there in forum research. Does anyone have any questions about Protocol Watch? I guess in this particular case, it would be for the GAP 24. Okay, I'll take that as a no. And continuing on with ongoing points of interest, I'll like to remind you that if you find any determinism failures or deterministic, non-deterministic failures that are being miscategorized, please create an issue on the GraphNode repo as quick as possible. Or if you find any issues with proof of indexing generation or anything else, yes, please try to be as descriptive as possible, and it will help. It will greatly help the GraphNode team. As Otavio mentioned, the enzyme or network subgraph failure that I think was non-deterministic but should be deterministic has been fixed on the 25.2 pre-release, right, Otavio?
Sorry?
The enzyme issue was fixed or is fixed in the pre-release version of the GraphNode, if I'm correct.
No, yeah, I stopped talking because I think someone tried. I don't know if it was Alexis that was about to speak something.
Yeah.
Wasn't me.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. But yeah, the issue actually, so basically subgraphs that fail deterministically should actually have been stopped, shouldn't continue indexing. So those subgraphs that failed should have to be redeployed once the indexers start using the new version.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
It does for me. Does anyone have any questions regarding this particular issue?
But yeah, we're still elaborating a plan to how we're going to handle if we should recommend people to rewind their subgraphs, or we're going to see how that's going to work.
Awesome. Cool.
Is there any way now to know if a subgraph was affected by this without our, maybe we didn't see it happen, but it happened. You know what I mean?
So basically, the issue happens when a subgraph fails deterministically and you restart the graph node. So you can see it by the logs in the sense of, I don't know how much people, for how long people keep their logs, but you can see if the subgraph failed deterministically. And yeah, the other option is to, I think this is the only one, but I might on this write-up about how we're going to fix this for the network, we will have indications of like what people should do and if subgraph developers should redeploy their subgraphs, and yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I guess it would be great to have some sort of flagging system. I guess that's pretty an overkill, maybe, I don't know. But I guess that's what Alexis was like aiming towards, like something that would tell you this failed before, so or some kind of like diagnostic system. Am I right,
Yeah.
Alexis, to assume that?
Yeah, pretty much. It's the question is mainly like, we're indexing a bunch of subgraphs, and we don't know if it happens on some of them, but of course we can scrape the logs. That could be quite a huge task, actually, but I guess we're gonna have to do it.
Yeah, I agree, and I have this subject has come up a few times on the GraphNode team, because I really think we should have a way to store, like, to persist if a subgraph has failed before, because right now we deleted the errors from the database if the subgraph was unfailed, and I agree that we should have some, but right now we don't have it, and I'm gonna see if we can do something for the next release.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds super great.
And I think,
Cool.
I don't know if Adam was about to say something, because
Yeah, I think Adam was, yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that would be worth obviously checking here is POIs. Obviously, this should describe, or this could have resulted in different like POIs. While if POIs are the same, then should be fine. So I think, like, I don't know if we've talked with this group about the POI cross-checking work, which we're doing on our end, but I think maybe that could be really helpful. But yeah, maybe I'll wait, because that's Yanis has been working on that and he's not here this week.
I think though there could still be a risk that, if the skip blocks are always the same ones, then you could still have a quorum of indexers that agree, even though blocks were skipped. And so then the question is, should that be the canonical POI, the one with the skip blocks? If everyone skips the same ones, they should be the same POI, right?
I think in general, the nature of these types of errors is that it will be variable across indexes, because they weren't necessarily deterministic errors. I think if everyone was relying on the same RPC provider, you could definitely see this. You do raise like a broad general point, whereas if there was a general sort of network type failure or outage, that could be the same failure for everyone. So it is valid, and we will be looking at the sort of like toast service and other indexes that we have, like as a means of cross-checking. But I guess I'll point that out as the most pertinent and obvious flag.
I would also. Sorry.
I'll just go ahead really quick. I'm pretty sure we have a Discord outage, so I haven't been able to add links, and I think, yeah, just so you're aware, there's an API Discord outage. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. I was just going to add, as Adam mentioned, we have some more advanced POI cross-checking tools coming out of Edge and Node, but until that work comes out, which should be awesome, the POIfier tool, that's POIFIER.io, from the Ryabina and Grassets team, has been doing a pretty good job of allowing indexers to cross-check their POIs with other indexers that have opted in. And it also compares zero-hash POIs, so you can actually, form a picture of what level of POI divergence there is across reporting parties.
Yeah, so we're actually running POI Fire, and we're trying to upstream some improvements. And so, if some of you have looked at the pull requests, we're open to suggestions. And also linked to POI Fire, I was wondering if there's something we could do to improve adoption of that tool, because there isn't that many indexers there yet, and I think we could make some progress on that front.
Awesome. By the way, quick disclaimer: as Anna mentioned, there seems to be like a Discord API issue. I'm trying to invite everyone to the stage, but unfortunately, it won't let me. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. Cool. Does anyone have any other thing that they want to say about this particular topic?
Kai has something to say, but he's unable to join the stage.
Yeah, I'm trying to invite them, but it just won't do anything, unfortunately. Okay, I guess unfortunately we can move this discussion for next week. Hopefully Discord works by then. But we can move forward with the next topics. Well, there's a proposal to require a valid POI and allocation open. There's a sort of like stale discussion in the forums about this. I personally think this is a cool discussion. I've personally been discussing this amongst many people. And I think it might be cool to have it. But unfortunately, the forum discussion did go a little bit stale. So I'll try to reignite it hopefully soon. I don't know if anyone has anything to say about this, but if you do, it would be also super cool to add it to the forum discussion.
Kai wanted us to know that the changes to the POI file client enable easier running of the tool in Kubernetes. So if you're using Kubernetes, and setting the tokens and other config environments, variables and stuff like that is much more easier.
Woohoo! Amazing. Cool. Well, hopefully next time we can have him in the stage to say that. Shit. Okay. Cool. Moving forward, we have a 019 demo from Ford. Is Ford here? Can you hear us, Ford?
Hey, yeah, I was muted. I don't know how to do a video share on this channel, so if you guys know how, I'm ready to do a demo.
Ooh, that sucks. I
That
think
might
for
actually be tricky
video,
because I think we have to move to another stage, and I don't think that's going to be possible with the current state of Discord at the moment.
True. Yeah, that sucks. I guess
Yeah,
we
that's
could
too bad.
always.
If we don't get it done
for when
today,
it's
I
working,
could
yeah.
try to do a Loom video later today and share it in the public, share it in the channel, so you guys can still see the demo.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Sure, I'll plan to do that today.
Cool, thanks Ford. Is it worth to maybe go over the changelog? For the we've done this already last week, I think, but maybe some special mentions that you want to do or something.
Sure, I could just mention what I was going to demo today. So I was going to show a few additional properties that are now available on the indexing rules to give additional control of allocation management in the indexer agent. The demo was going to be pretty simple, so I could still just go tell you about those features over voice here. There's a few new properties on indexing rules. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but so there's one called auto renewal. That's a property on each indexing rule that you can use to tell the agent whether or not it should renew that allocation once it reaches its lifetime max. This could be nice for smaller indexers or for public good indexers who are doing small allocations and want them to just stay open indefinitely. There's another property now called require supported, which if you set that to true, the agent will not index or allocate to any subgraphs that are not supported. Just to remind you what supported is, the supported is Ethereum mainnet subgraphs that don't have unsupported features like IPFS. And then the fourth new property I was going to talk about is there's an additional variant now on decision basis. So decision basis could before be set to always or never. It can now be also set to off-chain. And if you set a rule to decision basis equals off-chain, this will replicate the behavior that we had before in the off-chain subgraphs list. But with that feature, you had to restart the agent and use the startup parameter to add something to the off-chain list. Now you can simply add a rule with decision basis equals off-chain, and the agent will keep that subgraph synced, but will not allocate to it. These are all in the change logs, and like I said, I'll try to release a video showcasing these to give you an idea how it works in practice.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, and those changes do sound really cool. I personally love the off-chain possibility to declare it in the rules. I totally hated to have to restart the agent every time I wanted to add something to the off-chain list, and it was also sometimes messy if you have a ton of different subgraphs. But yeah, that does sound super cool. So yeah, thanks for it.
No problem. Yeah, that will be a lot easier to manage too. It now has an off-chain table when you do the indexing rules get in the indexer CLI, so you can pretty clearly see which subgraphs are off-chain and which ones are being allocated to.
Yeah, it does make everything a lot easier to organize. I remember having to look up in the start scripts and stuff. It wasn't pretty. So yeah, this is super amazing to be able to organize it a lot faster, I guess. Cool. So does anyone have any particular question about this release for Ford? Since we thankfully have him here, it would be the perfect time to ask anything.
If you can.
Well, yeah, if you are in the stage voice channel, unfortunately everyone else will be a spectator. Yeah, thanks Discord. Okay, I'll take that as a no. Well, next up in the agenda, we had the stale allocation discussion, which is the last topic that we have to cover. I'm not entirely sure if there are many things that we should be discussing about the stale allocations. I can't really remember what was the last discussion that we had, but I do remember there were a few leftover topics for the discussion last time we discussed it. So feel free to go for it. Again, if you are on the voice chat, because yeah, Discord is not particularly nice to us today.
Yeah, I think one of the open questions is what is the definition of a stale allocation? And I didn't quite read it in the proposal. Well, at least not in the way I would expect it from reading stale. We were talking about zombie indexers, so it sounded like, I think we were talking about things that are 100 epochs allocations in, where a lot of the forum post seems to focus on basically the first block you go over, which are significantly different things. I think for me that's definitely an open question on this topic.
Yeah, I think like one of the issues was what do we call a stale allocation? So the definition of the stale allocation. I think what some basically was thinking about when he created the proposal was, okay, yeah, stale allocation is just anything that goes over the desired length of an allocation, which is of course 28 days. Then there's also the open question about whether it's a good idea or not to incentivize closing stale allocations, or whether it might be just I don't know, that there might be any sort of other mechanism to improve this. But yeah, I think those are the two main leftover open questions about it. Personally, I think like being super strict with this tail allocation and incentivizing, as you mentioned, Cohen, I think in the forums or maybe in one of the last IOH discussions, I think it's not entirely beneficial to incentivize closing any allocation over 28 epochs, just exactly 28 epochs, because I mean, it's not ideal. You should be closing it sooner, but for me, it's not the same between an allocation of like over 100 days and an allocation that just went over like 2 blocks. Those shouldn't be treated equally if they're going to be incentivized. There are many different ways to handle that. If we wanted to incentivize it, maybe do some sort of like gradual incentivize like curve or anything. Like if it goes just slightly over, the incentive is not as big as if it's like way over the limit. There might be also some way to set a hard limit. I think I also mentioned some possibilities to do it on the smart contract code, which then I kind of like think it through, and I don't think it's entirely viable from a smart code contract code perspective. But yeah, there are like probably a lot of ideas going around. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump in.
I guess I'd want to ask Cohen, how would he define a stale allocation? Because we talked about defining a stale allocation, but yeah, what are people thinking about what the definition should be?
Yeah, I think for me, because I came from the perspective of listening to it on the EOH, and there it's really about cleaning out what is dead weight to the protocol, and as such, a stale allocation is not the thing that goes over a block. Then yes, we're thinking more along the lines of of 100 epochs kind of stuff. And to try to denominate, I would look to something like perhaps 2 times the max allocation epoch thing, so that it could come down to 56 or something. Or you could even say maybe 1.5 times, so that's 42, something like that. So it's clearly over by a lot. It's not a simple mistake. It's not some small mishap that happened. It's not because the gas cost is at 500 Hui and you're sort of waiting for the network to cool down. So that's very clear, very much over it, something like 2 times or 1.5 times the allocation lifetime. Because at this point we are, or at least that's what I understood, we are talking about incentivizing the closing of this cost. We are still able to close the allocation basically the second it goes over, or the block it goes over, but it's not incentivized. And I don't think we should start to incentivize force closing allocations the moment they go a block over. I think this would create a quite harsh network environment where we are potentially hoping that more indexes would join the network, including some smaller indexers. If we create a too harsh environment, provided that you are still on Ethereum network for all this kind of management, we might be harming the network. We might be harming it in terms of more indexes joining. But same kind of thing with smaller subgraphs that would potentially find it harder to be served. So in terms of being incentivized to close, I would go for something that is quite significantly over, so that you could realistically say, okay, this is stale, this is pretty much abandoned. Because essentially the metric that we are handling is we are using basically a slashing method to be able to cover the costs. And this is a fully automatic slashing without any arbitration in between, without any human weighing of what is happening, without any kind of appeal. And these kind of scenarios, for me, the context needs to be abundantly clear to be able to comfortably move forward with a thing like that.
Thank you. Anyone else has
Osman.
any?
Yeah, just that was a great definition, and kind of before hearing you, Cohen, I was skeptical about the difference between something that is very slightly over versus egregiously over, and yeah, you've convinced me. I think that there is a meaningful difference.
I think it will be super nice to add that particular description that you made to the forum post, so that it's kept there. I think it will be valuable for the discussion in the forum.
Yeah, we'll try to add it.
I think there was another open question for the stale allocation discussion, but I can't exactly remember. I'm trying to go over the forum. But yeah, does anyone have anything to add to the discussion? Well, given that Sam's not here, and I think most people don't really have anything to add right now, we could probably... Do we have anything extra that maybe you guys want to discuss? Because the agenda is over, so if we don't have any extra topics, we can probably cut it short.
I know we've all received some messages for like joining the stage and stuff like that. I can't see any of my messages on Discord, so once I see them, I'll make sure that we can follow up with some of the discussion from today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I literally can't even accept any stage request or even invite anyone to the stage, so it's pretty much dead. Hopefully all the messages are not lost in the ether, and they are still there when Discord decides to work again. So we can follow up every question that was left over. Yeah, it's quite unfortunately not a fault. There's nothing we can do it. So yeah. Well, without further ado, if we don't have any extra topics to cover, I think we can call it a day. What do you guys think?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good discussion.
Yep,
Hopefully
and again,
Discord,
sorry for the technical issues. Yeah, hopefully next week this doesn't happen again. Yeah. Well, thanks for joining Index Office Hours 51. See you next week.
Thank you, Brian. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.